Welcome, everybody. I'm Jack Hammer, and today we've got a special edition of Niner Chatter here on a Saturday morning. Had some things changing up here around all 49ers Sports Illustrated this week, so decided to come on this weekend and do the show on a Saturday morning, kind of keep the flow that everybody's used to, at least for today. One of the not a whole lot of topics that I have that I want to get into. We already have a few folks lined up ready to come in and chat, and if you're on, you can see the link over in the comment section, so go ahead and jump on in. I'd love to hear from you. I want to hear your takes on 49ers as we're only now 2 weeks away from the start of training camp. 2 weeks from today, the 49ers are going to be on the practice field for the first time, getting ready for the 2021 season. It's this whole offseason has just gone by so fast. All these shows that we're doing and the discussions with you guys and the roundtables and all the writing and everything, just this off season's gone by so fast, and there were a few moments of maybe some lag in there right before the draft, but since the draft's come up, it's just been pretty much nonstop, and the 49ers do a good job also of keeping themselves in front of the media, in front of the news. So without further ado, let's go ahead and just jump into this show. Let's get to our first caller for today, and this is going to be Waruna.
Hi.
Waruna, what are you doing this morning?
Good morning.
What's going on?
I'm doing good. It's Saturday, but this week I'm on on-call rotation, so if there are any issues in the office that I have to attend to, but so far it's good.
Okay. So a nice easy weekend so far to start it off.
Yes. So far it's good.
Right on. What's going on with the Niners you want to talk about?
Actually, first question, not really related to Niners.
Okay.
I remember you were saying at high school you played quarterback, right?
I did.
Okay, so you know the best answer to this question. So when I started watching football, from the past, my two favorite quarterbacks are Steve Young and Michael Vick, right? So when it comes to Michael Vick, I'm crazy about him. Every week I watch some of his past games. So other day I was watching 2013 Chargers versus Eagles. I think that's like Michael Vick almost close to an end of his career. But still he could throw these like bullet passes without even breaking a sweat, like without any effort. So I just want to ask you, how can a person do that? I mean, it's like he was just sitting like in a chair and just would have with a very smallest motion throw a bomb like 50 yards, 75 yards. How can you do that?
Almost effortlessly, right? Just an effortless little flick of the wrist, and it seems like it's I wish I knew. I mean, if I knew, I might have actually made it past junior college, right? I mean, no. I mean, it's Michael Vick and these guys that make it to the NFL. These guys are supreme athletes in one way or another, and some of it is a God-given gift as far as their athletic ability, and some of it is just, and then you add in the hard work, and Michael Vick. It's interesting when you watch left-handers and right-handers. Left-handers have a tendency to throw the ball with much more of a rotation because there's a little bit more of a natural flick to their wrist. Don't ask me why, but when you watch them, they just all kind of have that same. Left-handers don't really get that high release where their elbow is really high like your right-handed quarterbacks do. Usually a left-handed quarterback, it's a little bit lower and it's a little bit more of a flick of the wrist. And so that could be part of it. I mean, Michael Vick definitely had a cannon for an arm.
Yes.
I wish I could give you a better answer. I just think that it comes down to
because every time I watch YouTube video on Michael Vick, I'm like, oh my god, how can you do that?
Michael Vick had crazy athleticism and it's just unfortunate that he didn't really learn.
Yes, he never lived up to the expectation. Yes.
Yeah,
I think yes.
Go ahead.
Because if he lived up to the expectation, he would have been a Hall of Famer without a doubt.
Yeah, I mean, you watch anything with Michael Vick, and he's just got tons of highlight plays. Right? There's a bunch of them out there.
Yes.
It just wasn't the down in and down out, consistency that you need to be successful. I mean, I know early on he had a couple of good seasons and took him to, I think, the NFC Championship game one year against the Eagles. So there was definitely some things there. So, I think that he's definitely a gifted quarterback, and it just seems like that's one of those natural. You can work on it, but there's really just kind of a gift to it.
Yeah. So, second question might be kind of a sensitive thing because we talked about these cities last week too. So, since I lived in Santa Clara and Sunnyvale surrounding the areas for some time before moving to Sacramento, what I saw is like that city really, I mean, especially Santa Clara, because I lived like 10-15 minutes away from Device Stadium. That city did not really embrace the 49ers. Because now, if I think about it, especially 2019 Super Bowl, the city didn't have any feeling. Okay, this team is in the Super Bowl. They are playing the biggest event in the American calendar, and even after the loss, people just went on with their things, moved on. That is not the usual expectation because, for example, if we lose a cricket match back in Sri Lanka, the whole country would be like a funeral. People would be talking about that game. So angry, emotion. So that's a fashion. I think I have never been to Green Bay, but from the things that I have read and watched, I feel like Green Bay is a city that embraced the team, most probably the Cowboys as well. So what is your thought on that? Do you think that moving to Santa Clara, that team betrayed San Francisco, the real fans?
Well, I think that, yes, I do. I think that in a way that they moving as far as they did away from San Francisco as well, and moving all the way down to Santa Clara was definitely a move that was a bad thing in terms of for the fan base, really, in a lot of different ways. I mean, it's nice that they got the stadium in Santa Clara. It's not really the nicest of stadiums. I mean, that stadium is really designed to be up in Candlestick Point with the cooler temperatures and all those kind of things. And there's definitely a loss. I understand it's the San Francisco 49ers, but I never lived in San Francisco, so I can't really say what it was like when the 49ers were really good as far as in the city. But from what I've heard and read, it seems like during those Super Bowl years in the 80s and 90s, especially in the early 80s when it was all new, there was definitely a vibe in the city when the 49ers were playing. And I can imagine that. I mean, if you go around, I know like the little town that I'm in, when the high school team I'm talking about just the high school team, when they're playing well, when they're going to and they have a big game going on in town, you could tell that there's a vibe in the town here that I live in just for our high school team. So I would imagine in a city that has a football team like San Francisco did, that there would definitely be some kind of a vibe going on there. Same thing. Green Bay would be over the top because Green Bay, I think, is like a college town in a lot of ways because it's just Green Bay is only about, I think, 80,000 people, and they have
100,000. Yes.
100. Okay, even 100,000, and then they have the stadium that holds like 80 or something like that. So they get people from all over the state coming into their little town. 10 weeks a season, depending on how many playoff games that they have. So that's a different vibe. I'll even go and I'll talk. I was out in Spain a couple of years ago for a Barcelona in Barcelona, and Barcelona was playing in the it was the semifinals of the big UEFA match.
Okay,
they do, and they're
European Championship.
Yeah, I don't know. No, it wasn't the European Championship. It was the other one that they do. But it wasn't the European because it was.
You mean the club championship, right?
Yeah, the club one. So it's not the European because the European is the countries. So this is the club one. So it was Barcelona, and they're playing against Liverpool, and that whole city shut down. I mean, it was crazy all day long. I didn't realize that this game was going on when we showed up, but after we got there, we heard about it, and that whole day was wild. And you had Liverpool fans walking up and down the streets chanting, and you had the Barcelona folks were excited. And then when the game started, we were on one of the busiest streets as far as for tourists, And once the game started, everything scattered. There was nobody on the street. You could walk up and down and see 5 people. Everybody was in the bars and in the restaurants and everything like that. And so you could tell if you were walking down the street, you knew when something exciting happened because you could hear all of the roar from everybody around you. So it's just different. I think, going to Santa Clara, you're just not you're not in your home in Santa Clara, and it's kind of it's a little bit more of like a transient kind of city. And what I mean by that is the people come in and out.
Yes.
It's not like there's a lot of people that work in Santa Clara, but they don't live in Santa Clara. So that's different. I think that's part of the reason for the difference in the vibes there.
Yeah, it's a shame that city has this team and this do not embrace it.
Yeah. So
Okay.
I think that's it, but we'll see what happens. I think hopefully they'll have some things to get excited about, and we'll see the Bay Area as a whole kind of come around the 49ers in 2021.
Yes. I hope so. Okay, thank you very much.
All right.
It was nice talking to you.
Yeah, it was great to see you too. Have a great weekend, and we'll catch up with you this week.
Okay, bye.
Okay, bye-bye. All right, let's move on. That was a good call. Varun always has some things to talk about. We're going to jump over to Korean 49er. Hey, how's it going today?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. What's on your mind?
Just trying. I think I'll need tomorrow to get over my Bay Area weekend. So I'm in just south of San Francisco and did a few things. So the pocketbook took a little bit of a hit, but I'll get over it.
There you go.
So got 2 points to ask you. With Richard Sherman, the whole story is a sad story just because it's a fellow human being, and and none of us truly know any of these athletes and what they're going through in their lives. So hopefully Richard will get the help he needs and get his life turned back around, because it was kind of sad to hear about what he did a few days ago up in the Seattle area.
Yeah, definitely. Well, hopefully he's got, he's, like you said, hopefully he's getting the help that he needs. That was just a real tough situation all around. And, that's one of those kind of things where, you just hope that for the best. And, my hope is that he comes out healthier, and that he's able to, his family is able to come out on the stronger end of this as well. It's a really tough situation for them, probably even more so than him, because that's a family, that's somebody that, it's a family member, and that's all coming down on you. That in that instance where he's, going through that episode that he's going through, he's not in his right state of mind, and for those around him that are trying to either take care of him or take care of themselves, that's a really tough situation to be in.
Yeah, I mean, he could have died after supposedly drinking all that vodka and whatever else he was drinking that night and getting into a car. I mean, that could have been devastating for numerous parties. But
yeah,
hope it's a good thing he didn't pass away or anything like that. So, second point, for the 49ers own Hall of Fame, Grant was on the cone phone where he asked people who should be in it that aren't. And one name I came up with was Hacksaw Reynolds from the 81 through 84, the first and second Super Bowl of Bill that for the 49ers. Another name I just thought up of is I know that Jed doesn't like the name, but I still think Jim Harbaugh should be in it just because he did so much winning outside of having friction with Jed and Trent Baalke, and he got 49 wins in 4 seasons, and that's a lot of winning. And and I felt that the franchise was in a out of control death spin because there were so many bad seasons, and it looked like we would never get out of it. I was wondering what you were thinking, Jack.
As far as the 49ers?
Yes.
Yeah, it's gonna. They've been all over the board, really since the Yorks took over the team, right? I mean, the Yorks took over the team kind of towards the end of the DeBartolo run. Even at that point when they took it over, they weren't the 49ers that we remember from the 80s and the 90s. So they kind of took them over as the team was in a transition even before they took over. I mean, they were with the Bartolo there. They were still doing really well, but they weren't the dominant team that we saw throughout the 80s and the majority of the 90s. So I think there was a little bit of a down period there that was somewhat coming already. And the biggest issue I think with the Yorks is that they haven't settled on a coach, and when they had good coaches, they let them go. They weren't able to keep them around. I think that's really kind of what's caused a lot of the issues with the 49ers over the last, we're almost at 20 years now.
Yeah, for the 49ers own Hall of Fame, I still would like to have, granted the cone phone on
Oh,
Monday.
yes.
So I said Hacksaw Reynolds from the 80s.
Okay, Hacksaw Reynolds would be a good one. He was with the team for the first 2 Super Bowls, I believe. I think he was there. I know he was there in '81. I think they picked him up in '81, and then in '84 they had him as well. So I would say, he's definitely one of those guys who, if you don't put him in the 49ers Hall of Fame, he's right on the doorstep.
Yep.
Of the Hall of Fame.
And Grant said Justin Smith, and I think that's a great name to have in because I thought he should have been Defensive Player of the Year in 2011 and 12. I just thought he was that good those 2 years.
Yeah, Justin Smith would be a guy that you should put in. He was with the 40. He was very good with the 49ers. I know he wasn't an all-time 49er in terms of because he started his career in Cincinnati. So it wasn't like he was here for his whole career. But the amount of the time that he did spend in San Francisco was he played at a very high level throughout, and he was a big part of that turnaround in 2011 and 2012. So he's definitely somebody that I think should at least deserve mention and in consideration for that honor.
And one last name, and then I'll let you go, Jack. How about Eric Davis? Because he got interceptions in 5 straight playoff games, and I don't think anybody's going to break that anytime soon. I don't believe. I know he didn't play a very long time with the team, but I remember that vividly.
Yeah, Eric Davis was really good during his time here. It's interesting when you look at Eric Davis, is he was a guy who struggled for a while in the early. He struggled in the early part of his career. He really came on in '94. I think some of that had to do with the help of Deion Sanders on the other side, and in doing that, it kind of changed the way that they were able to defend. Deploying their secondary. So I think that helped him out a little bit. If we're talking about Eric's and for the 49ers secondary that deserved to be in the Hall of Fame, I'd go with Eric Wright over Eric Davis personally. I think Eric Wright would be more of an option at that spot. Eric Wright, people, if you go back and if you were able to watch him play in '81 as a rookie, in '84 and during his time with the 49ers, he was Deion Sanders before Deion Sanders came around. He was one of the best defensive backs, cornerbacks in the NFL in the early '80s. And the only reason we don't know he's not held in that regard is he just had injury issues with his legs and that kept him out. And so, if not for those, I'd definitely say Eric Wright would be somebody that should be in the 49ers Hall of Fame. I mean, that tackle, I just watched it again last night. The tackle that he made in the 81 NFC Championship game at the end of the game, that saved the 49ers bacon right there. And that's funny because if you go back and you watch the 81 championship game, the end of the 81 championship game, and the end of the 92 championship game, remember Eric Davis was on that 92 team, I believe. At the end of that game, the 49ers just hit the catch, and then the Cowboys come out in the very next play. They hit that pass over the middle to Drew Pearson, and if it's not for Eric Wright being able to grab onto his shoulder pads and drag him down, that's a touchdown, or they're down at field goal position, and the 49ers don't even win the game. The same thing happened. They had a very similar situation in that 92 championship game where the 49ers score touchdown. They were within a score of Dallas, and the very first offensive play for the Cowboys, Aikman hits Alvin Harper on a crossing pattern. The 49ers aren't able to make the tackle, and he takes it down deep into the 49ers territory. They score and put the game away. So if you watch those two plays side by side, it's just amazing how similar they are, and then the difference in the results.
Yeah, I think that's a good name. I never truly thought about it that way. So, yep. All right. Thank you, Jack.
All right. Thank you, Kareem. You have a great day, okay?
Yeah, you too.
All right. All right. Let's jump over. I haven't had a chance to talk to this guy in a while. He's a little wild. He sometimes gets a little crazy, but I'm looking to hear from him. Let's go over to Gavin from Wales, and he's on. We don't even get to see. We just see the goat today. How you doing, Gavin?
What's going on? All right, Jack?
How you doing?
I'm good. And you?
I'm good. I'm doing great.
Right, I'm just going to hijack this show, right? I'm just going to proper hijack it right now, right? Now, remember you had a show the other week, Niners Charter, and was talking about wrestling as well, yeah?
That's right. We had a whole show. You were supposed to come on. You and I had talked about into the show, and then I think you fell asleep on us.
Yeah. Sorry, man. It was 2 a.m. my time. It was like, that's the thing. See, but with these early call-ins, I can call in, bro. Right. Anyway, right. Yeah. I want to get. I want to talk about wrestling, right? Yeah. So, right. Have you seen Dark Side of the Ring?
I haven't seen that. I've heard it's really good though.
Watch that, right, Jack? Right. Honest to God, right. Yeah, there's some really, really good, interesting things in there, and it's all about the side of wrestling you don't usually see. And it's about it's all different wrestlers as well. It's about the Ultimate Warrior, Brian Pillman. There's loads of them. They're all tragic stories. It's a Dark Side of the Ring, isn't it? Like, you mean, yeah? So seriously, right, Jack, watch that, right? Yeah, right.
Yeah,
I just watched the series now, right? WWE Most Wanted Treasure, right? I think it's brand new out. It is, Jack, right? And basically they go looking for heirlooms from wrestling from the past. So they go looking for like Ric Flair's robes. They go looking for other things like championship belts, yeah, stuff like that a lot, Jack. Yeah, right.
Did they find the Iron Sheik's curved boots? I mean, those things were iconic.
These boots. Yeah, that's the way you've seen it, have you?
those things were iconic, right? I remember as a kid how they made it like those things were like the like almost like weapons where he kicks the guy in the guy's face, starts bleeding.
Yeah,
exactly.
The back of his heel as well, where because he kicked people with the back of his foot as well, wouldn't he? So you got that all loaded as well. He would look. That's definitely go and watch that. Like WWE's Most Wanted Treasure, right? I just finished watching it today. I did. It's a really good watch. It is, Jack. Right? Yeah. Right. Go watch Stone Cold Steve Austin. Right. Broken Skull Sessions. Have you watched any of those?
No, I haven't.
No, they're good. They are, right, because he interview wrestlers. And he's got all different wrestlers on. He's got modern day wrestlers on there, and then he's got like Attitude Era wrestlers on there, like Mick Foley, The Undertaker, Ric Flair's on there, Randy Orton. And it's Stone Cold Steve Austin. It's really good, really, really good. I highly recommend it. Right, have you seen the resurrection of Jake the Snake Roberts? And what are your thoughts on that movie? Have you seen it?
Man, because you got all these movies. I'm not that deep into the WWF, WWE, where I've seen the movies outside of the wrestling. For me, the majority of my wrestling, my recollection comes from when I was watching it as a kid, and as in my early adulthood. I don't really watch it a whole lot now. The most recent. Why not? Because the wrestling is like a soap opera, and there's all these storylines that go on, right? And so you kind of have to know what the story is to really understand, because while the wrestling in the ring is definitely athletic and exciting to watch, there's so much more to it than that. There's so much of a storyline that's going on, and to understand like why these guys are beefing and what the issue is and why you want this guy to win over this guy or this lady over this lady. So that's why, and I just haven't been able to get into it. The most recent thing that I did see though, outside of watching an actual match, was it was a documentary on the Ultimate Warrior and his rise through the WWF, and how they scripted him taking over from Hulk Hogan, and that whole time period. So that was really interesting. And I catch that every once in a while, and there's been some other shows, because the Dark Side of
they inducted him into the Hall of Fame, didn't he?
I think so.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's on Dark Side of the Ring. That is his story. I mean, that is Ultimate Warrior. He's on there. Yes, sir. I mean, yeah, it's fantastic. Okay. I mean, yeah. So you don't.
Yeah, I'm like Swanson here. I go back to the Jimmy Superfly Snuka days. Jimmy Snuka was one of the. He was one of the top guys back when I was a kid. I actually had one of the, in the early days of the WWF action figures. I had a Hulk Hogan and a Jimmy Superfly.
I had the arms
action
flick
figure.
on it, didn't it? The arms flick on the Jimmy Superfly snuck out toy, didn't it?
Yes,
Flick
it
the
did.
arms.
Yep.
Yeah, I remember those. I had those when I was a kid as well.
No, let me ask you this. So, when
Yeah.
you talk about wrestling, I know we're on Niner Chatter here, and there's definitely some tie-ins, between professional wrestling and the 49ers.
George Kittle.
Well, George Kittle. Yeah, George Kittle is a big WWE fan. But if you go back past that, there's guys that had played for the 49ers that have been pro wrestlers. So, long before you and I came around, there was Leo Nomellini was a 49er player who was also in his spare time in the offseason was actually a professional wrestler and did really well at it. So he did that while he was playing with the 49ers. He was a professional wrestler on the side. You had Kevin Green. Remember Kevin Green, Hall of Famer? Most folks know him as a Pittsburgh Steeler and a Los Angeles Ram. But he had a season with the 49ers in '97. But up until that point, I think in '95, '96, he was actually doing wrestling gigs with WCW. WCW was really big in bringing these guys that bringing stars and tried to get them into the ring, wherever they were from. And so they got a lot of football players that were interested in it, and they got them into the ring for matches.
Well, they made
So
David Arquette the World Heavyweight Champion. David Arquette, like.
That's true. That's true.
It's a good movie on that. I've seen You Cannot Kill David Arquette.
Oh, was it really?
No, watch it. You Cannot Kill David Arquette. Right? It's a movie. He come back onto the indie scene because what happened was when he won the heavyweight title, everyone took the mick out of him. They did, and everybody ridiculed him as a champion, saying that he didn't deserve to be a champion because of all the people that held it before him, and he wanted to justify himself. So he went back out on the indies, and he was like a top 500 wrestler in the world. David Arquette. He wrestled Nick Cage, right? Deathmatch specialist, right? Nick Cage nearly killed him, right? Oh, watch that movie, right? You Cannot Kill David Arquette. Jack is brilliant in it, Zach. It's really good.
I'll have to check that one out. And then the other guy, the other one last one. Go back to Kevin Green for a second. Kevin Green was at the point in his wrestling where the 49ers were the first team to actually write into his contract that he couldn't wrestle. When he signed with the 49ers, they actually had to write that into his contract that he had to have a no wrestling clause to keep him out of the ring. And then the last one that I know of is the Rock. The Rock has ties to the 49ers. He never played for the 49ers, but he played for University of Miami. And then he went to Canada and he was with the Calgary Stampeders for a season or about half of a season. The tie-in between the Calgary Stampeders and the Rock with the 49ers is that the quarterback of the Calgary Stampeders at the time when he was there was Jeff Garcia. So a little bit of tie-in with the 49ers as well. Yeah. So as far as the wrestling now, that's all good stuff. What do you think about I know you're a big fullback guy, aren't you? You really like Juszczyk and Josh Hackett, don't you?
I can just think of about 20 questions to ask you about why Juszczyk should be a captain on the 49ers next season. I could just happily just sit you doing and talk about that one.
Yeah, no, Juszczyk is the guy I want to see. I want to see him get the ball more often this season. He needs to get the ball in his hands more. We've been kind of saying that for a couple of years now. Last year, they definitely didn't get it to him quite enough. So they need to find a way to get him the ball. And I wrote an article about 2 or 3 weeks ago at least now, stating that if Trey Lance is the starting quarterback, I think that's going to put some more juice in the 49ers offense because I think him being the starting quarterback, you're going to see more balls get thrown to Juszczyk, and he's going to be utilized as more of a receiver, or just see more targets come his way, which would be fantastic.
Yeah, well, I read one of your articles the other day, and it got me super pumped for Wayne Goldman Jr. Fair plays. I'm excited to see because he played behind Barkley, didn't he? In New York, and now he's going to get a chance to shine doing here, and I think he could make a real impact. I mean, if we just give him the ball, yeah. I'm really excited. That running back room, that's got to be up there with top 5 running backs in the rooms in the league, I think.
I think the 49ers have the ability, have the room, and the in the running back room, and I think they have the offensive line. And depending on who the quarterback is, especially if it's Lance, they have the ability to be a top 3 rushing attack in the NFL. They've got guys who they built a lot of. They went out and got a lot of size in that room. They helped out with their right guard position. I think the change at center for Alex Mack is going to be impressive as well, because Mack's going to get. Yeah, well, yeah, they're going to be bulkier. Alex Mack helps them because he's going to get them going in the right directions with his play calls at the line of scrimmage and assignment calls and things like that they do. So I think the 49ers definitely have that ability to be a top 3 rushing attack in the NFL. And Wayne Gallman is a guy, unfortunately, as I've done these shows throughout the offseason, I keep forgetting the guy. And I think most 49er fans have too. I don't really think a whole lot about him when they look at this offense. And here's a guy who in 2017, before Barkley got there, had a pretty good season his rookie year with the Giants. They brought in Barkley and he lost his carries, and so his numbers dropped down. And then last year when Barkley went down, Gallman got the ball in his hands again quite a bit, and he ran well. And he's a guy who, if you look at his numbers in 2017 and 2020, the takeaway that I have is this is a guy who needs to get carries. And if you're giving him 8 to 10 carries a game, keeping him active, you're going to get a guy who's going to be a strong runner, breaking tackles and those kind of things. Because those are the 2 years. Last year, he averaged 2.5 yards per carry after contact, which is a really good number. Would have been the best among the 49ers running backs last season. And he was over 2 yards per carry after contact, I believe, his rookie year as well. So give the guy the ball. That's kind of very similar to Trey Sermon as well. You give them the ball, you start getting them in the flow of the game, and next thing you know, they're going to start running through people.
I'm excited about that Trey Sermon as well. I am. Yeah, definitely give the rookie. Let him run at them. I think, that was a good draft pick, I think, today. I think, definitely. Kyle Shanahan's improved definitely on offense. Definitely. We've gone to town. It looks like we should be the real deal. But what do you think? Yeah, do you think we should start Jimmy week 1, or you on the bandwagon? We should trade him and use the money.
Well, here's my thought on it is we have to see how they are in camp. If during camp Trey Lance is either equal to or maybe just behind Jimmy Garoppolo, then he's the starter. If he's anywhere close to what Jimmy Garoppolo is, you go with the younger guy. You go with the guy that has more potential that is going to that you have a longer future expected for him. The other thing about it is you don't want to put Jimmy Garoppolo on the field if at all possible. And the reason that I say that is because, Swan Song asked the question here, and it leads perfectly into your question, is you don't want Jimmy Garoppolo on the field if you're the 49ers, because if he goes out and gets hurt, you're stuck with him. Because if he can't, it's very similar to Dee Ford, where, Dee Ford, part of the reason why they're stuck with Dee Ford is they had that injury clause in his contract, and he's injured, not able to pass a physical. They can't do anything with him, and nobody's going to trade for him because he's injured. And that whole contract was guaranteed. And, luckily the 49ers have kind of worked it out to lower the cap hit and whatnot, but they're still stuck with him. And that's what would happen with Jimmy Garoppolo as well. If he goes out and he gets hurt, he's done. The 49ers are done. They're stuck with that $25, $26, $27 million cap hit. And so I think this all plays into why, why he didn't touch the field at the end of 2020. I know we get this week, you had the whole Tom Brady playing on an injured MCL from the season before, story come out, and you had people, Jimmy couldn't even play on an owie with his ankle and things like that. But I think that there's more to that story than just Garoppolo. Maybe Garoppolo didn't want to play, but I really think a lot of that had to do with the 49ers holding him out as well, because they didn't want to get stuck with having to carry $26 million on his contract instead of being able to get rid of him for $2.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to step with Jimmy either if he's injured. A lot of money to carry over. But I just don't want to risk damaging Trey. I just don't want to put him in when there's a Super Bowl or bust mentality, and then he goes out week 1 and gets munched. And it's just going to destroy him, and I don't want that to happen to him. I'd rather take my time and just eat the bullet with Jimmy this season on his contract. Whether he gets hurt or not. If he gets hurt, then we can just, this trade can come out and he haven't got to worry. It's all down, all the pressure's on Jimmy. Jimmy's hurt again because we got someone to blame. But if not, I just don't want to damage him. I don't. Anyway, leading to my last question, right? Right. Should Trey Lance start his own sports bra range?
That was fantastic this week, really. I understand that wasn't a sports bra, that was all for his off-season training and making sure that he's going to be healthy and everything. And my whole takeaway from it was, look, if that sports bra or whatever you want to call it is going to keep Trey Lance healthy for the full 2021 season, then 49ers better find and go get 90 of those damn things and get them on all of their players, and they better be wearing them all throughout the first week of training camp before they put the pads on. Get those damn sports bras on everybody, and let's go and let's show the NFL what the 49ers are all about, and get those sports bras on everybody, and let's stay healthy in 2021.
Jack, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you very much for putting this call on right at my time. You're an absolute darling, right? Yeah, thank you very much, buddy.
All right, thank you. Have a great day out there. I guess great night.
Right. Bye.
Bye. All right, Gavin bringing it from Wales. Fantastic. And yeah, the whole deal with the whatever you want to call it, the half tank thing, whatever, sports bra, whatever you want to joke around and call it, the man's ear. That's if that thing is what's going to keep Lance healthy, then let's get him a whole season's worth of them, and go out there and let him do his deal. So let's jump over now. We got an old friend who I haven't talked to in a couple of weeks. Hey, Barry Brawler, how you doing?
What's up, Jack?
Hey, how's it going? How you doing? What's up?
Excellent, Jack. I want to talk, and we were hitting on some of the stuff with E. Kim, and when Eric Wright's name got brought up, I had watched some of the Super Bowls back earlier, during this COVID period, and Eric Wright had an acrobatic interception where he was like spinning in midair and snagged it, and I was like, "Whoa, that guy's a baller."
Oh yeah, no, Eric Wright was amazing as a 49er, especially Eric Wright, Ronnie Lott, those guys, and Carlton Williamson, all rookies leading the 49ers to the Super Bowl in '81, just totally rebuilt that defense.
Yeah, I've heard about that. Yeah, they drafted the rookies, played them, and they all balled out. I want to talk some Bill Walsh, okay? Schematically, all right? When I watch some of these games back, you don't see it anymore, but Montana's under center, and they got the two backs that are split.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And when you talk Bill Walsh, you hear about the West Coast offense, right? And I know it's the short passing game, but what else can you tell me about Bill Walsh's offense?
Bill Walsh's offense it's interesting because everything that you hear from the short passing game and the West Coast offense and the throwing and the finesse. That's what kind of the Friars were thought of as at that time, as they were the finesse 49ers. That's why when they beat the Chicago back in '88 in that NFC Championship game, if you've seen the videos, they have I think it's Keena Turner talks about how the finesse ass 49ers came into Chicago on the coldest day and beat their ass kind of thing. And I think that's really what was missed about that whole thing is the 49ers, they were finesse in a way in that they threw the ball a lot, but they were tough. That was a strong, tough team. They ran the ball. They weren't afraid to get after you in the running game. They used the pass to kind of tire you out, and then they'd hit you with the run. So they definitely weren't afraid to run it at you at all either. And I think the misnomer with that whole Walsh system was that it was just a short passing game. I mean, they used the short passing game quite a bit just to get you running and having to cover those, and they used that obviously to hit you deep. It wasn't like the 49ers were just a dink and duck team throughout the 80s, and throughout that time period. They'd go down the field and they hit you at all levels of the field. So when I go back to Bill Walsh, my favorite Bill Walsh series was the Super Bowl against the Bengals in his last game was fantastic. But I go back and just watch. If you can watch on YouTube, you can find it. The last series against the Cowboys when they went down to win that game in the NFC Championship game in '81, and the way that they worked that offense, and it was running the ball, there was passing as well, but it wasn't like they were just pass. They actually were run. They run a reverse and tons of. They ran a lot of their off tackle. It's kind of a what you consider kind of like a buck sweep if you're running a wing T. That's really the way that was run. And they ran Linville Elliott like crazy on both sides. They ran to the left. They ran to the right. Montana hits a beautiful throw on the right sideline to Dwight Clark, and then they had a touchdown. They had a touchdown 2 plays before the catch, and Montana just missed a wide open Freddie Solomon for a touchdown. That's the other thing about that game when I watch it is just how impactful. I know the catch was made by Dwight Clark, and so he's the hero. But how involved Freddie Solomon was as a wide receiver in that game. He had a couple of big catches and big plays on that drive down the field to get him into position to win that game. And if Montana makes a throw, he's the guy that scores the touchdown that sends him to the Super Bowl.
Funny how that works out. And Walsh liked to throw the ball to the running back a lot too. I don't know if that was widely used, but that was a thing that just a part of the offense that Bill Walsh implemented, correct?
Oh yeah, definitely. And I think and Bill Walsh talks about this even in the show that I was watching last night about the 81 championship game. Was the Bill Walsh offense was really created during his time in Cincinnati. He was an offensive coordinator for the Bengals throughout the 70s under Paul Brown with the Bengals there. And he was their offensive coordinator. And so that whole offense was really designed and developed throughout that time. And the sprint right option, throw that they ran for a touchdown at the end of the game was actually a play that was designed by Paul Brown and the Bengals that he brought over with him from there. And it's actually when you watch, if you see the show, it was on NFL Network a few weeks ago. They talk about how that play wasn't designed to go to Dwight Clark. That's always been talked about. It wasn't designed to go to Clark. It was designed to go to Freddie Solomon. Freddie Solomon's the first option, and if he's not available, then he's got to keep looking, and then he's going to get Clark sliding across the end line. And they ran that play on I think their first or second possession of the game for their first touchdown. And Solomon was open. They hit him. He makes the guy miss, and he dives across the goal line for a touchdown. And in this instance, at the end of the game, Solomon slips. So he's out of the play, and then that's why Montana's just having to buy time to let Clark get across. It's amazing. Just when you hear them break it down, it's really interesting stuff to watch.
No doubt. What was that show that you watched last night?
It was on a few weeks ago. It's the NFL Network has like their greatest games series. Okay. And NFL greatest games kind of thing. And so that was one of the games that they did a whole 49ers series about a week or two ago. And so I recorded all of them. They had that game. They had the 1992 NFC Championship game on there as well. They did the Garcia game against the Giants. So there was a whole section of them that they came up.
Nice. I want to transition to Mike Shanahan. Was he with Walsh or was that Seifert?
Mike Shanahan was with Seifert.
Okay.
Mike Shanahan was with Seifert. He came in 92. So Walsh retired in after the 89 season, and then in 90, I believe they still had Mike Holmgren. I'm pretty sure was still their offensive coordinator. And then when Holmgren left to become the head coach for Green Bay, that's when Mike Shanahan was brought on board.
Now with Kyle's offense, do you see anything that they might have picked up from Walsh in terms of the short passing game? Do you see anything that resembles that old offense that Bill Walsh was running?
Yeah, there's a lot of carryover in the passing game with Walsh. I think there's a lot of similarities. The difference is that Kyle Shanahan he's a little more of a downfield attack off of play action kind of guy. But a lot of they're at this point in the NFL, there's pretty much everybody's kind of running variations of the same things. It's just a matter of how they get to it. But everybody's kind of running, they all kind of have like the over route, which is the guy coming across to get your flood into the they're all coming, like say, from the right side to the left side to flood the zone on the left side. They're all running the screen game. There's a lot of these things you watch, and they're very similar to each other at this point. It's just a matter of how they get there, like I said, as far as motions and things like that.
Yeah. It's a copycat league. The last thing I want to touch on, Jack, is the quarterback position, all right? We're talking current 49ers. And I was with the movement of, hey, man, we could free up this money. Let's roll with Lance. But the way I look at it, I think we're going to give Jimmy the shot at the start of the season, right? And that was my gut at first, and then I kind of opened my eyes and I said, well, if Trey Lance is balling, which still that could be the case. If Lance is balling out in preseason and just steals the job, then you roll with him. But the way it's kind of looking, I think we're going to start out with Jimmy, and if he's winning games, you continue to play Jimmy. If he's playing solid, he's playing good, we're winning games. If for some reason we start losing a few, maybe we start, let's just say like 2-4, which I don't expect, but something like that, then you say, you know what? Let's roll with Lance if he's looking like he's ready to go. And that's what I think we're going to do. What do you think about that?
Yeah, there's definitely a possibility of that happening. Because the deal, when they decide that they're going to play Trey Lance, when they decide that Trey Lance is going to be the starter, it's a move that I don't think that they can come back from. So they need to make sure that when they put Trey Lance in there to be the starter, that he's going to be the starter, and he's going to be the starter from that point forward, because you don't want to put him in, have him struggle, and then pull him out, and have him sit for a couple of weeks or whatever, and then put him back in. I think that's kind of the worst case scenario. Not that he wouldn't be able to come back from it, because quarterbacks do. I mean, that's what happened to Jeff Garcia when he first joined the Niners back in '99, when he first took over for Steve Young. But that was a different situation. I think that if it's close, I think they're going to go with Trey Lance, though. And you got to kind of trust him here, because Shanahan's had success with rookie quarterbacks in the past. He's had success with dealing with guys and kind of getting them going. And Lance doesn't strike me as a guy who, even if they're running a lot of stuff, let's say that's similar to what they did with Nick Mullins, he doesn't strike me as a guy that's going to come in and make the mistakes like Nick Mullins did, where he's throwing the ball for interceptions and things like that. It's going to, he's going to be much more careful with the ball. He was that way when he was at North Dakota State, and I think we're going to see that carry over. I think if anything, Kyle Shanahan's going to need to pull out some aggressiveness for him. He's going to have to pull it out of him somewhere to get him to be more aggressive with the ball going downfield.
And what I like about Lance, he's got the cannon, but he's not afraid to check it down. If he doesn't see it's there, he'll check it down, and that's something that I don't think Jimmy does enough. Jimmy kind of holds the ball and he's waiting, and he's patting it. Lance will check it down, so that's another bonus. But Jack, I just want to win, Jack. Let's get that 6, all right?
I'm with you. Let's just have a good season. Get out there, get 12, 13 wins. Get into the playoffs and see what you can do. See if you can make some damage there. And let's go. I'm excited. Like I said at the beginning of the show, we're 2 weeks from right now. They're going to be on the field practicing for the first time, and we'll start getting practice reports and be able to actually be talking about stuff that's happened on the field instead of what we think is going to happen.
Can't wait. All right, Jack, take it easy.
All right, you too. You have a good one, Eric. All right. Eric always brings it. Big barrier bowler. Some good stuff there. And it was fun to talk about old school 49er stuff back with Walsh and those 49ers, because I can do that. That was back in my youth. Still, I have a lot of good feelings and memories of those teams throughout the 80s and 90s. Let's go ahead, and I have never had a chance to chat with Michael, but let's bring him on. How you doing, Michael?
Yeah, I've watched you many a times with our buddy Grant, but never had a chance to chat. Before I talk about Trey Lance and a few things, that sports brawl, whatever, don't that thing have sensors and stuff in it like that? It's kind of a training tool that they use. It's not really
definitely
for protection. It's for, throwing motion, whatever. They put all that stuff in the computer with them sensors and stuff. That's basically what that thing's for. It's not a brawl like a lot of people, even in my group, people are joking, oh, he's wearing a man brawl, whatever. No, that ain't what it's about. It's a tool that the NFL uses for training.
Yeah, no, it's a tool that's used throughout in a number of different sports. I know it's big. It's really big in the soccer community and stuff.
I believe that's how they tracked their 40 times this year on a lot of them by using that.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I know that it like tracks things like heart rate and those types of things, which can help with the injuries and whatnot. It helps. It's all about helping get them in the best shape possible and the best position possible, right? So correct. I'm not joking, but when I'm joking around with Gavin about that, I'm not making fun of him.
Oh no. I'm just saying, hey. I've got a guy in my group that jokes about it. Oh, he's wearing a bra, and it just irritates me when people think it's a bra when it's actually it's part of, it's to help the player get better, basically. That's
my only thing. Yeah, and I just like to joke around with it and say, hey, if it's good enough for him, then get one for everybody, because the whole team should be wearing them those first couple of days of practice when they're not wearing pads.
One thing that you and Bear Baller were talking about, or you were talking about before him, was, if Jimmy G gets injured, let's say he gets injured week 8, 9, or 10 or whatever, you're gambling $50-some million, because if he goes on the IR and starts at the beginning of the season next year and he's on the IR, we owe him next year's salary as well, fully guaranteed at that point.
Yes.
So you're gambling 50, 52, 53 million, whatever it is, on him staying healthy. That's a lot of money. You could do a lot of damage with that in free agency.
Yeah, for sure. We
can get a corner with that money. We can, sign Fred Warner with that money. It's I'd rather have 2 All-Pro players like Fred Warner and say Stephon Gilmore more than I would Jimmy. Jimmy hasn't proved anything other than he can get injured at about a 60% rate.
That's about where he is so far, and I agree with you, and I think that's really playing a role. It played a role in the way that they handled Garoppolo at the end of last year. I know it's not really brought up a lot, but I continue to bring it up. I think that it played a role in why he wasn't back on the field at the end of last year, and I think it's going to play a role as to the way that they handled him this year.
I think they broke the straw with him and Kyle Shanahan, and that's why I think they drafted a quarterback, is because I think they wanted him to play, and I don't think he wanted to play. And you go back to this Tom Brady thing, he played a year with a torn MCL. I'm sorry, a sprained ankle is not an MCL. That's a severe injury compared to a mild injury, even though his sprained ankle was severe, but it's 2 totally different injury severity.
Yeah, I'm just going to say that I disagree with you on who decided to not play. I really think that it was the 49ers holding Garoppolo out for the reasons that you've mentioned. The cost. If he goes out there and he was playing in 2020 at the end of that season and he gets hurt in those meaningless games at the end of the season, they're on the hook for that contract. Now, by keeping him on the sidelines, it's only $2 million.
George Kittle off the field then? How come they let him go back for 2 games or 3, whatever it was?
Because he's in their long-term plans. He's in their long-term plans. He's a guy that they want to keep around. Whereas
Jimmy G's not in their long-term plans. Shouldn't they go ahead and kick him on out?
They should, but the problem, I think, the reason that we haven't seen it is they want to see if they can get something for him. They're trying to drive up his value. That's why that's why the Shanahan comments that we heard about Matthew Stafford don't make sense, because everything that we've been hearing throughout the offseason up until that point was building up Garoppolo. They were building up Garoppolo. They were building him up. He's going to be the guy. We're going to stand behind him. He's going to get the opportunity to play. You had Jed York
saying, "Which we all know is lies."
Sure, but you had Jed York saying, I'm fully fine paying this guy $53 million over the next 2 years to be my quarterback, and you have John Lynch talking that up, and then all of a sudden you've got Kyle Shanahan over here talking about how much he was trying to get rid of him by bringing in Matthew Stafford. So
Kyle's throwing him under the bus. He don't like him.
Yes.
And bottom line is, who's in control of the 53-man roster? Or no, let's put it this way. John Lynch may be in control of the 53-man roster, but who's in charge of the 48 guys that dress? That'd be Kyle Shanahan.
Right. Yep. And that whole thing is I think showing some mess as far as really where the organization is, and they're split on this whole quarterback thing. You've got one guy wanting to move on at all costs, and yet the other guys are saying, "Hold on, I need to get something for this guy. I can't just let him go. I've got to trade him, or I've got to get something."
I'm going to ask you a question like I asked Grant. Okay, what's more important, $53 million in cash or a second-round pick?
Yeah, you'd much rather get that second round pick if you could.
Over $53 million in free agency? What can you find for $53 million in free agency over what you can get for a second-round pick in the draft?
Well, here's the thing, though, is that I understand what you're saying, and you want to get rid of them, and if they can get a second-round pick, that's great. If you're able to do that, you're getting the second-round pick plus that $53 million, right? So that's you're getting both of those.
But he blows his ACL out in the first practice. You're on the hook for $53 million now because it's going to carry on to the next season. And it's a 60-70% shot. He's going to get injured again.
Yeah.
If I can bet in Vegas on his injury, I'd bet and turn $100 into $1 million that he would get injured in Vegas bet. It's going to happen.
Okay.
It's not when. It's just going to happen. Jimmy's going to get injured again.
Yeah. Yep, so, I agree.
You know, it's just, in my opinion, go get Fred. What's more valuable to the team, Fred Warner or Jimmy G? Can't pay Fred with Jimmy G on there.
I'm going to say something here that if Jimmy Garoppolo is healthy, he's more important than Fred Warner. I understand that Fred Warner is an all-pro defensive linebacker, but if you've got your quarterback, if your quarterback is good enough, it doesn't matter if your middle linebacker's hurt. You're going to be able to get by with it.
Let's see how confident you are in Jimmy G. Would you bet $1,000 that Jimmy G can play 17 games this season?
No, heck no. No, I'm not confident. No, I'm not confident in Jimmy Garoppolo staying healthy. What I'm saying though is that if you're asking me if Jimmy Garoppolo, it wasn't Jimmy Garoppolo, right? Let's say we're not talking about Jimmy Garoppolo. Let's say that we're talking about Trey Lance, and Trey Lance is going to be your starting quarterback, and you've got to pay Trey Lance $50 million, or you've got to pay Fred Warner $50 more, his big money.
Well, yeah, you pay the quarterback, but we're not
the quarterback.
We just drafted a highly talented, with huge upside quarterback that has all the talent in the world to go out there and beat Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, and all I'm saying is that the starting quarterback being healthy and playing at a high level is more important than having an all-pro middle linebacker playing. And the reason
I think linebackers are a dime a dozen in my book, but that's beside the point. I think Greenlaw's better than him. So
I think I don't think Greenlaw is better than him, but I think we're both on the same page in that with the importance of the quarterback position. And I love Fred Warner. I think he deserves the money that he's going to get. I'm just saying when it comes down to it, quarterback is more important than middle linebacker.
I just can't see a linebacker getting paid more than Patrick Willis got $10 million a year. I just don't see Fred Warner. I know things go up every year, but it's like Patrick Willis is 5 million times better than Fred Warner ever thought about being. And how is he going to get more money that much? Just it irritates me the way the price is going up, with everybody in the entire NFL. I don't like it. Like a kicker getting paid $4 million or $5 million a year, what he was getting paid. That's ridiculous for somebody that goes out there and is on the field 8 times a game or 5 times a game.
Yeah, but those numbers go up. I mean, if you go back, I think the original salary cap in the NFL was close to $100 million, or maybe even under that back in '94. It just is what it is. And talking about and you're saying you can't see somebody getting paid more than Patrick Willis. I mean, look at these guys right now are making more in a season. These quarterbacks are making more in a season than Joe Montana, I think, made over throughout his career. When Joe Montana signed $1 million a year contract, that was a huge deal back in '81.
It was. But I just don't. I mean, good thing I know what's going to happen is Trey Lance is going to go out there and going to dominate, and he's going to take the job from him before the season starts anyway. Kyle Shanahan wants a reason to start him, and he's going to get the reason because he's going to blow up and he's going to take the job from him. That's going to happen. So I don't know if you feel the same way, but I think Trey Lance is just going to embarrass Jimmy G and going to make his trade value from the 4th or 3rd round pick that we could get right now. It's going to go even less. It's going to make it to where he's just going to have to be cut eventually.
Yeah, I'm not far away from you. That was one of the things that I've been kind of saying all throughout this offseason is that they need Garoppolo's value is only going to go down as he plays.
The longer
as,
we wait, the cheaper he's going to get.
I think so. The only way that it goes up is if if some team out there has a massive injury at quarterback and they're able to.
I don't see us getting more than a second round pick for it. I don't see that Sam Bradford sending a first round pick for him. Type deal ever happening again.
I think if you're the 49ers and somebody offers you a second round pick for Jimmy Garoppolo, you're picking up that phone and telling them yes, or hitting an email back with them telling them yes as fast as you can type.
Problem is the Niners are too greedy. And before the draft started, they should have had Jimmy G shipped to New England. They would have sent us a second round pick for him back then. They were hoping to get a first round pick, I'm sure. But before they drafted their quarterback, they could have already had him traded months and months ago to New England. But their greed is the problem. The 49ers are very greedy with their players as far as value-wise go. I don't know if you think the same way on that or not. That's just my opinion. I don't know if it's a fact or not, but you couldn't tell me that New England wouldn't have traded for him a month before the draft for a second round pick.
Yeah. No, I hear you. If they could have, I understand what they were doing in a way. At the same time, I don't. I think they were holding off because they wanted to have a security blanket. The 49ers that's the way they deal with things, and in a lot of ways, it's smart. But at the same time, if you just that you want to move on, take the best deal that you can get for them. You're at number 3. You're going to get the quarterback that you want.
Yeah, because apparently they wanted one of 3 quarterbacks. If you trade up to 3 months earlier, which they did, they know they're going to get one of the 3 they wanted. Go ahead and ship your quarterback out while the value's still high. Why you could have gotten New England for a second round pick.
Yeah, and I think what really hurt them is they were in the market for quarterbacks throughout the offseason. We know that with the trade talk with Stafford, but they really wanted to bring in the quarterback, Andy Dalton. He was high on their list, and if they had been able to bring in Andy Dalton, I think Garoppolo wouldn't have been on the team. I think you can tell me if I'm wrong, but I think the Dalton stuff was all before the draft.
It was long before the draft, like 2 or 3 months before the draft. It was during the like 3rd or 4th day into free agency is when that went on, the Andy Dalton thing. And they could have got him. I mean, they just needed to realize they could have saved a whole lot of money and still signed Andy Dalton to a $3 or $4 million deal. He would have came to the Niners for that.
Well, he took $10 million from Chicago though. So
but Chicago over the Niners, he'd have came to us for $3 or $4 million. I'm telling you, he would have. Chicago's not winning a thing.
Yeah.
Just simple fact. So, but glad to see you on here, and check out that group, 49er Fans for Life. We have 115,000 plus 49er fans in there. I tell Grant, he forgets a lot of times. Post when you go live, because you'll get about 400 or 500 people in here watching at that point in time.
Okay.
Way to build your group quick, When Grant started doing that, I think he was at like 20-some thousand subscribers. Now he's 35,000 subscribers, and that's only been about 4 months to jump that much. It's due to the group. So post us in there. Join the group. I mean, you're a 49er fan anyway, right?
Yeah, I am.
Yeah, so join anyway and build your group with that.
Okay, that sounds good. I will do that.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Michael. Great call.
Mm-hmm. Bye.
Have a good day. Bye. Yeah, no, Michael definitely brings the passion with the quarterback talk, and I think that there's a lot of good things that he's saying as far as the quarterback situation goes. Definitely, it's going to be fun to watch this whole thing play out. And I wanted Mac Jones. I thought Mac Jones was the best quarterback in the draft when you look at him as a thrower and as a passer. The dude was very good. The reports out of New England have been very positive about Mac Jones so far. He might not be the guy that starts this year. He may be. Who knows? It's very similar to we're seeing very similar discussions out of New England to what we're hearing out here in with the 49ers with Trey Lance. Where I got the Mac Jones thing wrong was I understand that he doesn't have the athleticism of a Trey Lance, but he's a just as good of a thrower, maybe a little bit better. But you take the athleticism, you add that into it, you throw that into the mix, and that's why Trey Lance was the pick, and I was fine with it. I put my listings up and I said Mac Jones is my favorite. That's the guy who I think they should get. If it's not Mac Jones, I'm really good with Trey Lance. I think he's the next best. If they get Justin Fields, that's a mistake. That's the way it came down. So yeah, I like Mac Jones. Oh well. A lot of people like Justin Fields. He's with the Bears. So let's move on to the next one, and we're going to go to. Let's see. Is this Chardol?
Yeah, this is me.
Hey, there you go. How you doing?
Hey, I'm doing great. It's good morning.
Good morning. I know we started a little earlier today, I think.
About some things that I really like about Steph Curry that I found out through the years is that once he shoots the ball, he knows it's going in, which is something so remarkable about him. Is that once he shoots that, he knows it's going in. There's no question about it.
That's
You
right.
also
He
find
puts
that
that ball.
something interesting about him that's so cool about him, that he just knows the ball's going in the net no matter what he does. He can close his eyes and shoot the ball and it's going in.
There you go.
That's amazing about him. I mean,
Uh-huh.
how can he just close his eyes like he doesn't? His eyes are closed and just shoots it. Doesn't even look. Turns around, shoots the ball, goes in.
Yep. It starts running while the ball's in the air, right?
Yeah. Do you also have you also seen some remarkable things about Steph that just make him such a great basketball player, like all around player, just his talent. He's accumulated so much amounts of talent over his career, which is just
Yeah.
amazing to see
Yep.
how much talent this player has gotten.
Well, you mentioned how you like the fact that he can shoot and not even have to watch the ball go because he knows it's going to go in, right?
Yeah.
For me, I'm going to say that his ability to get down inside and score from down inside with the layups and get down in there and get the rebounds and all those kinds of things. He does a really good job down inside with his short game, the way he's able to handle the ball down there, and then his ability to chase the ball down and get the rebounds. That's a part of his game that people don't really pay attention to as much as they should.
Because are there some things that people don't pay attention to Steph, some things that people don't pay close attention to? It's just about the threes. I mean, he
Yeah.
goes for the layups and the jump shots and stuff like that, but he's mostly for the threes. That's what he's special. That's his specialty.
That's
That's
right.
what he's known
What.
for. He's known for
Yeah, that's what
the long balls.
That's right. That's right. Because chicks dig the long ball, so that's what it's all about.
And if there's any player you would compare Steph Curry to, who would you compare him to? Like, who is also known for shooting the long balls? So another famous 3-point shooter, who would
Well,
be compared to Steph I'm not saying in a big sense, but like another famous shooter like Damian Lillard or Klay
Klay Thompson is different. Like Klay Thompson is more of a spot up shooter where he's a catch and release kind of guy. So he's got to, he's not going to dribble it up, hit the 3-point line, and then put it up and score. He's a guy who's going to be set. The ball comes to him and he catches it and he gets the ball up quick and it's in. So he's a little bit different. I would go almost as far as to say, and this is a big name guy, but Larry Bird, the guy who everybody remembers as the 3-point king, and he won those 3-point contests year after year when they first introduced those in the 80s, but he was a guy who, like Steph Curry, would get down inside and he would scrap and get the steals, get the rebounds, and do the dirty work as well.
How excited would Dub Nation be when Klay Thompson returns? Because I know Dub Nation will be very excited once Klay Thompson comes back, because he tore his ACL in the finals game. I think it was Toronto or something. I'm not sure the team that he played against, and he tore his ACL. and he was out for the season for a prolonged period of time until, they had to do some they had to do some diagnosis on the torn ACL to see if it was a fracture, if, what was wrong with the injury. But it was a pretty serious injury. He was in pain. I could see him writhing around on the court in pain. He
Hmm.
was clearly not like there was lots of discomfort he was in while he was in the injury. So do you think that they will really like his return once he returns back to the court?
Yeah, I think fans are chomping at the bit for him to come back. They want Clay Thompson to be back as soon as possible. Clay's a fan favorite amongst the Warrior fans. They
And and
they
and
love that guy.
the two jerseys I see when girls get Warriors jerseys, I've seen them get a lot of Thompson and Curry because Thompson Curry like the Splash Bros. So why would they not get those jerseys? So they're like the two most popular players right now, Curry and Clay.
Absolutely.
Yeah, when you see them in the arena, mostly you see lots of Clays and lots of Stephs in the arena.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
love those two
They
guys.
love Clay Thompson and Steph Curry. So,
That- That's right.
um, uh, so how do you think the 2021 49ers season will look like next year? Do you think it's gonna look up pretty good next year with training camp coming up really soon for the
I think so.
Niners?
I think so. I think the 49ers have a chance to win. I think when I did my breakdown of the schedule, I think I had them at 13 or 14 wins, somewhere around there. So uh, I think that they have a chance to have a heck of a season and be battling for the number one spot in the NFC, which is going to be whoever wins the NFC West, I believe.
So my question is, what will the San Francisco 49ers do if Jimmy Garoppolo wins it all, wins the Super Bowl? What will the 49ers do about that if he potentially wins the whole Super Bowl and then, you know, is that gonna be a problem for the team if he starts and wins the Super Bowl? And
It could,
um is it gonna be an issue for the team or is it not gonna be that much of an issue?
yeah, it could definitely be an issue for them. I think that it puts them in a tough situation. How many times have we seen a quarterback go out and win a Super Bowl and then be released the year after that? You know,
Because
I
I'm
think
really concerned about why people are so upheld on Jimmy Garoppolo staying. People are saying like we don't want to see him start. We want to see him go. People are not that happy with him staying. People want Lance to start because he's the new guy, and people want him to get his stardom and get his popularity. People want to see him kind of excel and go far distances and see
yeah,
what he has.
yep, because they think that the feeling is that Jimmy Garoppolo is not going to be able to take them to the Super Bowl, and also that he's too expensive. They don't want that contract of $26 million a year for a guy who's not going to win you the Super Bowl. That's where the issue is when it comes to Jimmy Garoppolo, and that's why everybody wants the shiny new toy in Trey Lance. He brings something different that they haven't seen, and he's a lot cheaper. That's the reason there. Let me
And
ask. Can I ask you a question?
yeah, you can ask me
Okay.
a question now.
Okay. So you need to choose one. Trey Lance winning a Super Bowl for the 49ers or Steph Curry winning another NBA championship with the Warriors. You can only
Um,
have one of those. Which one do you want?
I would choose the first one, Steph Curry winning an NBA championship with the Warriors.
Okay. Okay. So you want to see Steph get back and win an NBA championship instead of over Trey Lance winning the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Okay. How about if we change that up? If I said Jimmy Garoppolo winning the Super Bowl or Steph Curry winning another championship, are you still Steph Curry, or
Still
do you
Steph
change
Curry.
over to Jimmy Garoppolo?
Still
Okay,
Steph
you're
Curry.
you're 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 a big Steph Curry guy then.
Yeah.
All right, that's good. That's good. I like the fact that you're strong with your Steph Curry love.
Yeah, and sometimes at work, sometimes my friends really get amused when I imitate the
Yeah,
shimmy shake at work and imitate the Curry thing. They get very fun. They get a laugh out of that.
Do you do that at work when
no, when
you're
I
when you're running
imitate it, they get a laugh out of it when I imitate it. They
when
get
you're
they
when you're at
start
work and
Yeah, and then I try and do that. They laugh. They think that's funny when I imitate Curry's point to the sky and then his shimmy shake and then do that when I make a three.
that's what there you go. That's what you should do when you're at
Yeah,
work at Great America this
yeah
week and you're doing your game.
yeah
You know, you're running your game,
they get a thrill
and
out of
who,
that. That
yeah,
yeah
that's what you should do.
they think
So when you're, I keep talking over you. I'm sorry.
yeah they think that's cool when I do that. They laugh at
I,
it.
I I would love to see that. I'd love to take my kids to Great America and take them to your game that you're running.
Yeah,
And then
yeah,
when they win a prize, you know, as you're going over to get that prize, I want to see that Steph Curry
yeah,
shimmy shake as you go to pull it off the wall to hand it to him.
yeah.
Uh-oh. You got to get that? Oh, no. Chardal's got a knock on the door. Hopefully everything's all right. He's incognito, so hopefully everything's okay.
So yeah, so that's really cool that I do that because I just want to have be a little funny because I have a cute
Sure.
I have a comedic side and I have a a serious side
You bring the serious side to this, don't you?
and I have a comedic side too.
Yeah, no, I love. You bring the serious side to the cone phone and
The
to
comedy,
Niner, yeah, to Niner Chatter, and you save the comedy for your
comedy.
friends, and yep, your
Yeah,
comedy stays at work, huh?
yeah.
All right.
But it was really nice calling in and it's I always like it and it was kind of unique because uh to me I feel that when you did it on Saturday morning, to me it feels like the cone phone. That's exactly what nine you just don't call it the cone phone, but you still call it like it's exactly the same format, right?
Well,
Where you
that's the
have
thing
people
with
call in and you put the StreamYard link. So to me it feels like I'm on the cone phone. To me I don't feel any different. This feeling
well,
does not feel any different than on Saturday mornings when you call in for the cone phone for Grant's show.
there you go. No,
This doesn't feel
I'm glad you
anything different than
brought
that.
that up.
That's what
Cool. No,
this kind of reminds me of me calling into Grant's show, but unfortunately
uh-huh.
Grant's out on vacation. Um so
Uh-oh. We lost Chardal
on
again.
Tuesday at 6 p.m. and I'll look to bring some more interesting topics for um us to talk about and hopefully they'll be pretty interesting.
That sounds good, Chardal. I look forward to talking to you on Tuesday.
I'll see you, Jack.
You
Have
have
a
a-
nice morning, and I think you have some more callers who want to call into your show as well.
I hope so. I hope so. You have a good weekend, Chardal.
Okay, have a nice weekend, Jack.
All right. Bye
Bye.
bye. There you go. There you have it. It can't be a Saturday morning without a hit of Chardal bringing the fire. Chardal definitely a big Steph Curry guy. He's Steph Curry and the Golden State Warriors over the 49ers. That's not a bad deal, you know. You got to love the fact that he's not afraid to go out there and say that he wants he's a Steph Curry guy and he sticks with him even with the tough questions. So that's really good. I like that. You know, I don't have any other callers right now. I don't know if there's anybody else that wants to call in. We had some really fun callers. I know Amin the Dream was in here a few minutes ago, but he dropped out. He might have had to go run somewhere. It took too long to get over to him. But you know, I really appreciate everybody that took time on the Saturday morning to come in. You know, and this isn't my normal time. This is normally Grant's slot, and he's off doing his. He's out there, you know, doing his thing with his beautiful bride on their anniversary, taking a few days off, and so we knew he wasn't going to be out here. So I actually asked him if it would be okay if I kind of filled in for him today, and do this on a Saturday morning in his slot just to kind of keep you guys all happy and going. So that was what this was all about. Swan Song asks, so why can't I buy questions on your channel? Because I'm not at enough subscribers yet. It takes 1,000 subscribers in order to open up that feature. So you know, if you are on here and you're watching and you're not a subscriber already, you know, I'd love to have you subscribe, get to 1,000. My goal is to get to 1,000 by the time the season starts. So We got about a little bit over a month now to get there, and the fun part about this is that with preseason coming up and whatnot, we're going to be able to get into some film breakdowns and really get into 49ers discussion as far as what we're actually seeing on the field instead of just our thoughts and feelings on it. So it's going to be great to actually get them out there, get them on the field, and be able to talk about games that are taking place. So we're getting close. There's about I think we're about 188 away, so not too far. It's been a good journey so far, and if you're, like I said, if you're not already subscribed, it'd be awesome if you did, and if you have other friends that are 49er fans that aren't subscribed, let them know as well. Eric says he's a new subscriber. Just wanted to say that Kinlaw, Greenlaw, and Ayuk are all going to break out this season. That would be fantastic. I'm with you on Ayuk. Greenlaw, Greenlaw's already kind of been breaking out the last couple of years. He's played really well as his rookie season, and last year was pretty much the same thing. If he can break out and do better than he's done the last 2 years, that's getting into Fred Warner territory in terms of tackles and playmaking ability. And then last but not least, they're on Kinlaw. If Kinlaw, I think really is going to be the last piece there to kind of fill in the whole puzzle with that defensive line. If he can get his pass rushing going, that'd be huge for that line. So we'll see how that works out, and I'm looking forward to it. And look at that, we've got Swan Song calling in, and I'm going to go ahead and take his call real quick. You're muted. How you doing? Swan Song, are you there?
Hello?
Oh, there you go. Hey, how you doing?
Forgot I had it. Doing pretty good. Good.
Good
calls this morning. So I just I was playing the game in chat, and what would you rather take? You and chat can answer this. Trey Lance winning the Super Bowl as a rookie, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it does not mean that he can't win year 2 or 3 or whatever, right? It's just guaranteed he's going to win as a rookie. Or he goes back to back in years 3 and 4, and 1 and 2 is just playoffs or whatever. But back to back 3 and 4 is one choice, or winning as a rookie, the first rookie to ever win a Super Bowl.
Well, based off of what you just told me, so the question is, do I want him to win one? Now, if he wins it his rookie year, though, that doesn't necessarily mean he's not going to win it later on, right? That just means that he's winning it as a rookie.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
But you're also saying, instead of winning it as a rookie, we're guaranteed that we're going to get a Super Bowl in year 3 and 4. But in his rookie year, in year 1 or 2, doesn't mean that they're going to necessarily struggle, but they can make the playoffs and still be competitive. Correct?
Right.
Is that what I'm hearing?
Correct.
Yep. Well, I'll tell you, for me, that would be. I would take option 2. I would take winning a Super Bowl in years 3 and 4, back to back. If that meant still being able to have a competitive team this season and next season.
That's fair.
For me, I'm all about having a competitive team that I can watch, and cheer for and get excited about. And that was one of the reasons why I really liked the time period that we had Jim Harbaugh as the head coach, was that it was NFC Championship game, Super Bowl, NFC Championship game. Those 3 years, those were, you were locked in on 49ers, really throughout the entire season. You were able to watch every week and watch the 49ers play, and if you can get back to that kind of a situation where they're a perennial playoff team year after year, having a couple failures this season and next, but getting 2 Super Bowls after that, sign me up. I'm with that all day long. How about you? What do you think?
Yeah, it's a tough one. I like your answer. I'd rather take Trey as a rookie, but I'm going to add to what you just said, is that if we did win back to back and that was guaranteed, we'd be at 7 Super Bowl wins, and that would be the lead, right? That we would lead the NFL again, right? So that would be good. But I would take Trey as a rookie just because, one, it's never been done before. Right, we would go bonkers, and then plus, if he did it as a rookie, there's a good chance he's going to do it again by year 4, right? If you take year 2, 3, and 4, like the other scenario, and I mean, there's no guarantee, of course, and that's why I put the question up. But I like the thought we won't have to ever hear the, oh, you can't win as a rookie, because I'm getting sick and tired of hearing that. Because remember, I don't know if you remember back before, there was one stat that teams have never done, right? And that was teams coming back in the playoffs or championship when they were down 3-0, right? And I believe the Red Sox did that one year when they beat the Yankees, and that it broke that whole cycle of, that stuff happening. So it does happen, because I remember that was a stat for the longest time watching sports in the 80s and 90s. No team's ever gone back from 3-0. No team's ever gone back from 3-0. And then Boston just, I don't know how they did it. It's So yeah.
No,
but,
that's
sorry,
awesome.
go ahead.
That's really good. No, you're good. You're good. You're bringing this is an awesome call. No, you're bringing up some really good things, and I agree with you. The more that you're talking, the more you're kind of swaying me over to your side. If you can, it'd be awesome to see Trey Lance come in his rookie season and take the 49ers and go out and win the Super Bowl, because that's history, right?
Yeah, that's history. Never been done. It's a story. Like it just fits with the 49ers, right? Like, never been done. We were first to the 5 Super Bowls, and we've had some lumps, in the last 10, 15 years, but yeah, it's like
I like it. I think you've sold me. I think you've totally swayed me over to your side, and I like that last part you just made, is that it's the 49ers, right? The 49ers, the first to 5. The 49ers, the back-to-back that they had with Montana and then Young, the winning that they did throughout the 80s, as far as the number of 10 win seasons.
Yeah, changing the whole paradigm of how football's played too, like back in the 80s, right? Like, I mean, I know it was a kind of like a transformation from what Paul Brown did, but if I watched the Bill Walsh video, and a lot of what Paul Brown did, those things were credit to Bill Walsh, because he was the offensive coordinator. He was the one Paul Brown was tricky. He was smart in reinventing offense, but a lot of those plays and things were done by Bill Walsh, if I understood correctly. And like you said earlier, like every offense now has a form of the West Coast offense where you don't even hear it anymore, just because it's so ingrained in every offense. It's not worth even pointing out. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. No, I'm with you. I agree with what you're saying. That's exactly 100% correct. Did I lose you?
No, I'm here. Yeah, I'm just listening.
Okay. Yeah. No, I agree with you. You're right on. And the whole Walsh angle there with him coming over from Cincinnati and that whole offense and everything. Yeah, no, you're right. The 49ers have been cutting edge throughout. That's throughout their run through the 80s and 90s and into where we are now. Yeah,
and
let's do it.
Yeah, I know. It's like I just can't wait for it to happen, and I'm excited with Trey Lance. I haven't been this excited for a QB, that the Niners have drafted in a long, long time. And yeah, I was excited for Alex Smith. I was excited for Tim Druckenmiller even, but not this excited. Not this excited, because I think Trey has the potential. He's the whole package on paper right now. Like everything that you want, like the athleticism, the work ethic, the saying all the right things. It's like it just seems all there.
Yeah, this one's totally different than Jim Druckenmiller. When he came in, you weren't expecting him to play for a while. So, Steve Young was still going strong, so you weren't expecting him to even be out there.
Right.
Even Alex Smith at that point, it was exciting to get the quarterback, but you didn't really expect a whole lot because that team was not good.
Right.
Yeah, but now you got a team that was just in the Super Bowl 2 years ago, and we have a really good cast, and now all of a sudden you're adding this quarterback that has all these dimensions that you haven't seen for a few years. And I understand the hype around it, and I think it's going to be fun watching the preseason and seeing how he's utilized and how they're bringing him along.
And I haven't gotten clarification from this. I asked this on Grant's show, and I posted in chat here, and no one's been able to answer it. So if Jimmy gets hurt in camp, we all know that if Jimmy gets hurt after week 1, what the ramifications of that could be. But what if he gets hurt in camp? Can the 49ers cut him or is he protected by, whatever the NFL, injury conditions are? Like, I would like to know that, because if it is if he gets hurt in camp with this, like a serious season-ending injury, and we're stuck with that contract, God, I don't even want them to even play him in camp. I want him to put him in a bubble. Like if that's the case. I mean, I know there's a lot of Jimmy G fans out there, but I don't hate Jimmy. I'm just thinking more about the team. That like when it comes down to it. So
Yeah. Well, we talked about this at the beginning of the show or earlier on. I'm not sure if you're able to be on when we were talking about it, but if Garoppolo goes out and gets hurt in preseason, the 49ers are stuck with him. They're stuck with his contract
oh my God.
for both because he's at the point now where he has an injury guarantee in his contract. So if he goes out and gets hurt, the 49ers can't get rid of him. So I think there's
so scary.
Yeah, that's definitely, I think, playing into this whole thing, and we'll play into it when we get to decisions being made.
Yeah, this camp, was 2 more weeks, right? It's going to get crazy here. It's going to be crazy. It's going to get crazy in the next 2 weeks. There's going to be so many stories that, to be looking at, like is Bosa back? Is, Jimmy G and Trey Lance, and, how's Aaron Banks look? There's so many things, so many things to keep an eye on. Trey Sermon.
Yeah, those camp reports are going to be what we're going to be living and dying with until they actually get on the field for a preseason game.
Now, are you lucky enough to have a media pass for all this stuff?
Not at this point. I'm working on it though, so we'll see. Hopefully I'll be able to get out there a little bit.
Yeah, good luck. You can be with Jason Apane and Grant too. It'll be the trifecta.
Yeah. Oh, there you go. That would be a lot of fun to go out and hang with everybody and be able to watch practice. So we'll see what happens. Working on it, and fingers crossed right now.
Okay, right on. I better get off now because my wife just looked at me, and my brother's visiting actually from San Francisco, and we got to clean up the house. So what's it going?
Hey, you better get off. Don't get her angry. Make sure you keep her happy. Get that cleaning done, and then go out and do what you want to do for the rest of the day.
Well, right on. Thanks, Jack, for the show.
No problem. Thank you. Hey, really appreciate you calling in. Have a good one.
Right on.
Bye. Well, that was a fantastic call. Never heard from Song. Seen him a bunch in the over on in the comments and over on Discord and things like that. So fantastic to chat with him, and brings a lot of energy. That was a lot of fun there. Let's bring it. I got another one on the line here. Let's bring in the coach.
Hey, how you doing, man?
Today, I'm good. How you doing?
Hanging in there.
It's been a few weeks since we chatted last.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see. I mean, you brought up a point about that they may have held Jimmy out last year because they didn't want to guarantee or have his contract guaranteed. That's an interesting point. I hadn't heard it before about him. Later in the season, maybe it wasn't Jimmy that was. Maybe Jimmy did want to play, but the Niners wanted to hold him out because they knew they were going to move on and they didn't want to have his contract guaranteed. And it does seem like that they maybe were looking for ways to get out of it. Like you said, they flirted with Andy Dalton for a little bit, and maybe if they had signed Dalton, they would have moved Jimmy or cut Jimmy and then made a move for a rookie quarterback. Obviously, if the interest with Stafford was true, they weren't going to have Stafford and Jimmy on the roster, right? So, yeah. So I think it's going to be, your point may be proven if you see in this preseason if they don't play Jimmy at all, or they play him very little.
Just enough to get him on the field and say that he played.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, like do they really need to? I mean, Lance needs all the reps that he can get, right? And then the other factor you need to figure out, if you do move on from Jimmy, you have to figure out, do you have a capable backup, right? Because I think that's the whole point of why Jimmy's still on the roster, is they need to see that Lance can actually work, because they don't want to just throw a guy out there and just lose a season. Especially, you've got a veteran team like there. If you just threw a rookie out there and just basically gave up your season for a rookie, those guys wouldn't be happy.
Oh yeah, no, and it makes sense. You can the way they're playing it is understandable, and I agree with you there. And you've got to see if you've got what you have in Rosen. I think that's the one. I don't think Sudfeld is the guy that they expect to really come in and be their backup quarterback. I mean, he was awful last year. You know, when he's played, he really hasn't been good. He hasn't played a lot though. But I think Rosen is the key there. If he can come out and does well, and they trust him, then that makes it easy for them to move on from Garoppolo even as the backup.
Yeah, I mean, you'd think if Kyle can get Mullins to be like what the fifth most passer, and within that, I don't remember what the stat is, but it's some crazy stat. Within X amount of games, he's like number 5 all time. If he could do that with Mullins, he probably can do something with Rosen, right?
You would definitely think so.
Yeah, and if he could do that with him, he certainly could probably manufacture some offense with Lance, particularly if he is what we all think he is.
I agree. You would think that either of those two guys can come in and be better than Nick Mullins, and really realistically, if Nick Mullins just didn't turn the ball over as often as he did, he would have been fine. It was just the turnovers that killed him, because he played well. If you take out the turnovers were bad, but he would usually be playing good, and all of a sudden the wheels would fall off. So I agree with you. I think both those guys should be able to come in, and he should be able to get more out of those two guys. And I think the stat you were talking about with Mullins was. What was he, third? He had the third most yards behind Peyton Manning and Patrick Mahomes, or something like that, through 16 starts or 13 starts or something like that.
Yeah, right. It's something wild. I mean, I do think if you look at Shanahan's history, he does have an issue of manufacturing stats with like average to above average quarterbacks. Like, he got Matt Schaub to a Pro Bowl. Like, I mean, I think. It's obviously he did what he did with Ryan. I wouldn't call Matt Ryan above average. I actually think Matt Ryan is underrated, but I think in Kyle's past he has manufactured some offense with quarterbacks that are kind of just okay. So I think it does. I think they just need to see it. And preseason will tell a lot. It'll be interesting to see how much they really let Lance go in preseason, like how much they run him. What do they let him do? Do they keep things tight to the vest, or do they just run the offense?
I think that you'll see depending on when he's in the game, I think you're going to see a very tight offense. I don't think you're going to see them really wanting to show a whole lot. I think it's going to be very vanilla, just basic stuff that they're going to want to have him go out and execute. The 49ers of the past, that's kind of what they've done. They've come out and they just kind of run their vanilla stuff, and then all of a sudden week 1 or 2, you start to see the entire package, and I think that's what you'll see.
Yeah, it's always an interesting debate, and to have this in preseason high school, it's like how much do you want to run your stuff in preseason? Because like there's positive and negative. Like you don't want to show, if you show it, the other coaches can see it. But then if you don't run it, there's a positive to actually running it and getting some experience running what you're planning on actually executing. It'll be interesting, right? I mean, especially when you're dealing with a rookie quarterback. Who hasn't run your system, right? He's run some similar concepts over at NC State, and he obviously, by all accounts, appears to be pretty intelligent. But if there may be some value there to trying to run as much as you can of what you're actually going to run.
Yeah, I agree with you, and I hear exactly what you're saying, because I dealt with that when I was coaching too. Was you go in and you don't want to really show a whole lot in your scrimmages or in those times when you're around other teams up before your season starts, because you don't want to get that on film. But at the same time, you want to be able to have some success, and you want to see it in action against another team, so you know what you have, right?
Right.
And that's frustrating. That can get rough when you're in a scrimmage and you don't want to show something, but you're not really being successful. And you're like, dang, like I know this. If I throw this out there, it's going to work. But I know exactly what you're saying, and that's a tough spot sometimes.
Yeah, I think
you want to get everybody believing in it, but at the same time, it's like, hey, we don't want to show this, but I really want to beat these guys.
Yeah, I think whatever the, in my opinion, I think whatever the core principles or whatever the core offense that you're going to run with Lance, I think that's got to be in preseason. Me personally, I wouldn't just throw it on the first. I'd want to run it some out there. Like I wouldn't want to just run vanilla stuff in preseason and have something completely different that I'm going to run out there in week one, and just for the sake of not showing it. Like I personally would see more value in getting Lance used to whatever I'm going to run. I mean, I wouldn't start throwing like if there's a special play, a special trick play. But if there's concepts I'm going to constantly run, like those are the things I need to. I don't care if the Cardinals see it or whoever or the Lions see it. I'd prefer Lance get used to running those concepts, and not just Lance, because if there are, I'm sure they are going to run option concepts and things like that. They didn't run that last year, right? So like, it's not just Lance that's got to get reps in that; it's the entire offense. True.
So you're kind of getting them all on the same path and working together and get that timing right and everything that kind of goes.
Yeah,
along
I mean,
right?
Like Alex Mack has been with the Falcons his entire career, I believe, right under with Matt Ryan. They haven't run some of the stuff. Matt Ryan's not a running quarterback. So it's like even the veterans have to get used to some of these new concepts. I think obviously Trent Williams has with his time with over in Washington, but it's not just getting Lance reps. And then the other part too is in preseason is how long do you keep those veterans out there, and especially if you do play Jimmy. Like if you do play Jimmy, you don't want to just throw Lance out there with like, you know, a bunch of the second and third unit, you know, so the kid can get killed.
Sure.
It's part of the reason why I do like a lot of what the Jets are doing with their quarterback. I mean, you can question whether he was the right pick or not, but I think they're doing a great job setting himself up for success. I mean, in regards to the offensive line, I think for the young quarterback, you want to have a stable and stable offensive line. More so than the receiving core. I don't care if a guy can't get open or whatever. I prefer him not be able to find someone that's open than getting destroyed because his left tackle can't block anybody.
Yeah, I think I agree with you. And if it comes to the preseason and they go ahead and they have Garoppolo start the game, I think you'll see the offensive line play throughout. I think you'll see the starting offensive line stick in there for a little bit longer with Lance for the very reason that you just said. You don't want to put him in a bad situation with the guys in front of him at all. Yeah. You might not have Deebo Samuel and Brandon Ayuk to throw the ball to, but I'm not as worried about that. I agree with you as having the guys in front of him be the top guys. I think that would be better.
Yeah, that might be play into the whole thing with not trying to get Jimmy hurt either. So you know, kill two birds with one stone. You don't really want to put Jimmy out there, and you don't want to put Lance out there with a bunch of the twos. I think it probably would be in best interest. Like you give Jimmy a series, and then in that first preseason game, you probably, I mean, if it's me, I'm probably letting Lance go at least like a half. He's got to go at least a half, right? And a half with a half and like probably try to get a quarter with the first unit. I'm not replacing the offensive line until they replace their starting defensive line.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think the one thing that we look at as we look at the preseason this year is you've only got the 3 games, so you've got one less game to kind of the fourth game was always the one where nobody really played it anyway.
Yeah.
So going off of what you're saying, I go into that week 1 game in the preseason, and Garoppolo's going to start. He's going to play a series, let him go, and then it's Trey Lance the rest of the half, and then you mix and match the other two guys in the third and fourth quarters. That's kind of the way that I would expect them to kind of run that, and then maybe the second week is a little bit more of you give, if Garoppolo is going to be the guy, you give him 3 or 4 possessions, maybe a quarter, and then you run another half still with Lance. You're getting him. You're constantly trying to get Lance, about a half of each game to get him ramped up, because whether he's going to be the starter or the backup, you've got to have him ready to go.
Right, and he's whether he's a starter or the back, he is the future of the franchise, and he hasn't played in a year. He needs reps, and practice reps aren't going to be enough. Is this good? Is this the most anticipated, most interesting preseason game in 49er history? I don't remember. I think a fan base being excited for preseason as much as now. When you draft a guy that's 3rd overall.
Yeah. I would have to say it probably is.
Yeah, normally you're watching preseason, right? And it's it's football, and you can get because you want to check out the draft picks. You check out the draft picks, but most of these guys aren't going to be on the roster, especially that first preseason game. It's all right, you get a drive of the starters, and then you get your draft picks in there. But then by the time it gets to the end of the third quarter, it's guys that are probably never going to make the roster. But right now, you're probably going to see your 3rd overall pick and future for, I would anticipate, a half.
Mm-hmm.
I'd be interested to see the TV ratings on the first Niners preseason game and how they compare and how they compare to the past.
Yeah, I think they're going to be sky high. People are myself included. I want to see this guy on the field. I cannot wait to see him in a 49ers uniform on the field in a game and see if he's in anywhere close to what we expected him to be.
Yeah, the first big play that he makes is everyone's going to go nuts. Especially if it's early and it's on the first drive, he chucks a bomb to Ayuk or something. Oh, well, see you, Jimmy.
Yeah, imagine his first play is a play action bomb down the field for a touchdown. The place, everybody would go nuts. Twitter would probably blow up. It wouldn't be surprised me if Kyle does it, right? Hey, this is why I'm moving on from Jimmy, right? To make a point to the fan base, because I'm not one of those guys that I'm not on the Grant Cohn conspiracy theory that he wanted Mac Jones and that everyone changed their mind. I just don't see it. I don't see how a fan base would have made him change. I think when you hire an offensive coach, I think you give him his guy. It's clear. It seems pretty clear that Jimmy Garoppolo obviously wasn't his guy before, so I think now that they would make a point to give him whoever he wanted. I think if he wanted Mac Jones, they would have drafted Mac Jones. I really believe that. I sure hope so. I sure hope that it did come down to what you're saying, where they let the fan base sway them into making a decision that they wasn't the one that they were thinking they were going to do. That'd be awful business if all of a sudden the 49er fans are swaying them in the decisions that they're making with who they sign and who they play and all that kind of stuff. That'd be awful.
Yeah, I think that one of the things, you could talk all you want about Jed York, but I think as far as he's not Jerry Jones in the sense that he seems to get involved in personnel. Obviously the issues he's had, or he's gotten rid of the wrong people and all of that. But to me, he more or less, as far as roster construction, steps out of the way of of whoever is involved right now. Like he might give the power of roster construction to the wrong person, i.e. Trent Baalke, but it doesn't seem like he gets involved. Like, hey, you guys got to pick this guy, So I don't know. I think, and it sounds like in the past, when he signed his contract, the whole deal was like Kyle did assume a lot of the power, and I don't know. If you don't believe your head coach can pick the quarterback, then fire him and get someone else.
Yeah,
that's my opinion. And I think I just don't see it. It's knowing coaches in general, and I just don't see how he could be a coach could be swayed to. Remember, everyone has to remember this is his career. This is his career, right? So like, whoever this guy is, he's putting he's putting chips in his career. And if he gets fired from the Niners, he'll get another shot. But like, this is your career, right? So I don't think he would put his career on the line with some guy that wasn't his number one choice. Particularly when it was pretty clear that Jimmy G wasn't, right? He wanted Kirk Cousins. I think Jimmy G was someone that he liked at the time, but if he had his druthers, he wouldn't have chosen Jimmy G. They were able to get him for what at the time everyone believed was pretty much a coup, like for a second round pick for Jimmy when everyone was talking about a first, So
yeah. I'm with you, and that was one of the things that I kept saying in the run-up to the draft when everybody was getting upset about the possibility of it being Mac Jones, is that, hey, if everybody's been saying that Kyle Shanahan needs his guy, he needs his coach, he needs his quarterback to be successful and all that kind of stuff. So let him pick the guy that he wants, whether that's Mac Jones, Trey Lance, whoever it is. Let him go get his guy, because that's the guy he's going to have to live and die with in terms of his coaching career. So, I do think that York has his hands in things a little bit more than we probably realize, because that's kind of kept in so far back you don't really hear a whole lot about it. But I would assume that he probably is involved in these decisions to an extent, and I think he's been a big Jimmy Garoppolo supporter from the time they got him, because one of the things we know about Jed York is he's a front runner. He likes those guys who are up front, right? And when Garoppolo came on and won those 5 games at the end of 2017, that made Jed York a lot of money going into 2018, because that meant a lot of season ticket sales, that meant a lot of merchandise sales, and everything like that. And then, so I can see where he's loyal to Garoppolo to an extent, or trying to make business decisions on who he thinks is gonna be best for the organization from a PR standpoint. But at the end of the day, I agree with you. I hope that this decision to go with Lance was 100% on Kyle Shanahan, and whether it succeeds or fails, that it's all on him. I really hope that's the way that it goes.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, if you're the owner and you make like a big move, like they did, you have to be involved to some degree, right? I mean, it's your company more or less. So like if you're trading 3 first-round picks, or 2 first-round picks, and then plus and making the pick, and you're putting that much investment in that, you have to let the owner know and what's going on. But I would be surprised if Jed was like, oh, you got to take this guy. I do think that he is involved with certain. I do think he nixes certain players because of the past history. Like I don't think, in my opinion, I think anyone with a sketchy history, I don't think he would be down to sign. That's why when a lot of people were banging the table for Aldon Smith, I was like, no way, because if they signed Aldon Smith and what happened in Seattle happened, think of how much like everyone would kill them and would kill like the media would be all over, like it just looked 10 times worse than any other team signing them.
Sure. Yeah, especially with the history there, right? The fact that they had the trouble with him in 2013 or 2014, whichever season that was, when he had his issues. I think it was 2014.
Yeah, I think after Foster, I think it seems like they're staying away from questionable character guys. I don't.
Yeah.
Is there anybody on the roster that has? I don't think so. I mean, you probably have to dig pretty deep in there to find someone with some past. If you did, it'd probably be going back to high school or something.
Yeah, there's really nobody that we know of that's on the roster at this point. The closest was what Kevin Givens had some issues, but I think that all got cleared up already. He had something happen, the fight or something like that this offseason. But no, they've been very, very clean for the last 4 or 5 years, which is nice.
Yeah,
Nice change from what we dealt with Balky and Harbaugh.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the closest thing is like maybe the Sherman thing that happened, but I mean that's not really a guy that's on the roster, right? I mean, so it's post tenure on the Niners, and honestly, I don't think what just happened is maybe close to some of the things that have happened with some of the. I mean, even what's his name? I forgot the defensive tackle. He had issues too. The guy McDonald, right?
Yeah.
He had some issues.
Oh. Yeah, if we go back to the Balky days, you had Ray McDonald had some issues. There were a lot of issues with that team. There were a lot of arrests. The fullback had the issue in the hotel room in San Francisco with the older gentleman beating on his door in the middle of the night, and beating him up and everything. And so no, there's definitely. I remember when all that was going on because I was doing some writing, I think, for Niners Radio or maybe 49er Web Zone at that point. And I remember writing about that because that was a team at that point who, they were among the worst in the league in terms of arrest for, they were leading the league in guys that were arrested. It was crazy stuff. So yeah, Bruce Miller was.
They're like the Florida Gators who just.
Yeah. Yeah,
I think there's some sort of the statistic, I don't remember exactly what it is, but it's like 25% of that Florida Gator roster has like arrest. The Urban Meyer Florida Gator roster has arrest records right now.
Oh yeah,
that
was. You go back and look at. You go back and look at that team. Shoot, yeah, they had. Well, that was Aaron. What was his name? Aaron
Hernandez from Connecticut.
Yeah,
I remember. Aaron Hernandez, even the Pouncey brothers. They had some issues going on. Yeah, it's funny because the poster boy for those teams was the cleanest guy in the league, Tim Tebow, but like everyone else is,
Exactly. You had all these this riffraff, and then you have Tim Tebow leading the charge. That was kind of crazy.
Yeah. So before I go, I'd like to get your take. What's your take on this 17th game in the season?
I don't really like it. I'm an old school guy, so I don't really like all of a sudden we're adding another game. The owners try to spin it. Well, look, we're giving you one less preseason game, but that doesn't help the players because the players never played. The guys that are going to be playing this extra 17th game, they never played in the fourth preseason game anyway. At that point, they were. It's not helping the guys that are actually the top performers. It's hurting them because now instead of having a week off, they've got an extra game to put their bodies on the line. So that's one thing. And I also don't like the new format for the playoffs.
I was just going to say that I dislike that. I dislike that more than I dislike the extra game because I think it devalues because now there's like one team that gets a bye and that's so important and I think it just devalues like fighting for those two top seeds.
Mm-hmm. Well, the NFL is going to spin it like, well, now we've got more teams fighting for the number one spot. It's even more important to get that spot than it was before. But I agree with you. I think, going out and in some ways, if you're a team that if that first team, let's say that first team is 2 or 3 games ahead of the second place team, that means that it's just that the end of the season is completely meaningless for more teams, because now you have no teams battling for that second spot, because you're already, as long as you're winning your division, you got a home game, but you're going to have to play an extra game anyway. So yeah, that's the one that I don't like. And I think we're talking about, I think Richard Sherman was one of the guys that mentioned this last year when they added that, made that adjustment to the playoffs. He's like, don't you guys realize what's happening? You're now having to put more wear and tear on your bodies. This isn't a good thing that we're adding another team to the playoffs. It's the opposite.
Yeah. And I'd be interested to see how it plays out over several years, and do you get more situation where teams are resting guys because it's like, all right, I don't really, there's not a reason to fight this thing out for I've already guaranteed a spot in the wild card, right? Like, especially if there's an option like, would you rather have home field advantage or rest your guys? I don't know. Like, I might take the rest, rest my team, especially if I'm playing 17 games. Like, let's say you're one of those teams where your bye week was like I don't know, so they start week 4 or week 5.
Early on,
you have an early bye week. You're guaranteed a playoff spot, but you can't get the bye, and so your team is beat down and tired. I might just give up a game and rest my guys and just say, hey, we'll be road warriors, and but you guys are going to be rested.
Yeah, well, or if you're like in the lead of a division and you've got a lead where you can kind of rest down the stretch because you're far enough ahead of second place in your division, you can right. Sit guys in week 16 and 17. I think you're right. I think that would be a path to take. It would be, I think I saw somebody talking about it. It might have been you and Grant, or there was somebody that was talking about load management in the NFL.
Yeah, we talked about it because I started tinkering with the idea of like, with 17 games, do you just start do you load manage like you do in the NBA? It's just like week after you have your first bye week, but then in the second half of the season you just start giving guys breaks. Like, hey, Jason Verrett, you're off this week. Don't come to practice. Just stay home. You're not playing this week. You're off. Like, rest your body, and we'll come back next week. And then don't do it all. I don't know that you do it all at once. You don't just like don't give Verrett and Bosa and everybody like the same week, but do it here and there. Maybe lose a game, but you keep those guys fresh.
Yeah, or even the other thing would be just to have 2 bye weeks. I mean, take out another preseason game, narrow it down to 2 preseason games.
They should do that. I mean, they should just, even if you don't take another preseason game, a preseason game out, they should just extend the season and add a bye week. I think the players would go for it. It's to have 17. It's already it was already getting to be a stretch, especially with the added wild card game last year, and then now it's just another game. Like, they need another bye week.
Yeah, they need to, and the way that they could do it without changing the schedule around is that right now you have the 3rd preseason game, and then there's a week off before the start of the regular season. So it'd be you could just, instead of having that week off between the 3rd preseason game and week 1, you just start right like they've always done, where it's right after the last preseason game is week 1, and that's how you can build in that second week off for everybody. And it's 17 weeks having it, that team that gets a week 5 bye or week 4, whatever that first week bye is, that team deserves a break in week 12 or 13,
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think, maybe you cut it off, like, you cut, obviously you don't have it, so you don't have any buys in December, and then you don't have, maybe you do it like you don't have any buys in December, and you don't give 2 weeks between the last preseason game and the first game. Like, it's just like the last couple of years where it's been, okay, week 4 preseason, and then the next week you start. So you don't have an issue of, because you don't want to devalue. You don't want to necessarily devalue that getting the bye week in the playoffs. So you want to make that like incentive for teams to actually go get it. But so I think you probably stop the bye weeks like in December, and then maybe you start giving the first bye week out a little earlier. Maybe it's week 3 or week. I don't know. Does it start week 4 or week 5? I don't remember.
I'm not sure. I can check really quick though.
But yeah, I'd be interested. I'd be interested to see if they do end up doing it after this year. I hope they do it. I think the players need it. I think it'd be good for the game. I don't know. I don't know if the issue is that if they have to do it, that they won't have on as many games. They won't have as many games to show on TV. Or the fact is they have to pay the players in the bye week, so they're dishing out more money. I don't know what the deal is, but
yeah. So I looked it up, and the bye weeks fall from week 6 to week 14. That's the stretch in which they have the bye weeks this year.
Yeah. So then I would say you start the bye weeks on week 4, and end them in week 14 or something. Yeah. What's week 14? It goes. There's 18 weeks, right?
Yeah, they could go like say week 3 to week 5. Week 3 to week 14 would probably be the range that you'd want to do, because you wouldn't want to have anybody play less than 3 games before a break. You wouldn't want to have anybody taking a break, late in the season. Too late in the season either.
Yeah, I'd like to see them do that. Hopefully they get to that. It's getting a little crazy out here with it's basically everyone and their mom is making the playoffs, and then you got to play. Now you got to play another game and all that stuff.
Yeah, it's going to be hard. So I got a question. You can help me answer this one real quick before we wrap up the show for today. So Brian asks, his question is, if Tart could lose a starting job, would that be the shocking move this year?
Only if he's
losing his start.
Only if he's injured. I would foresee. I don't think he'll lose it unless he's hurt. He'd have to get hurt, and then someone would have to step in and like play amazing. Like you'd have to get like. I'm a big Jared Baden guy. I think he's going to step. I think you're going to start to see some of his ability in the preseason. But Tart is as it's been pointed out, when he plays, Tart's really good. I wouldn't see him losing his job unless he's hurt, and then someone stepped in and did exceptionally well. Even if I think he's going to get hurt, or if he does get hurt, I just would be surprised that someone steps in and plays on the level that he plays at.
Yeah, I agree with you. I'm with you on that one. I don't know who would even be the guy that you would expect to replace him. Not to replace him, but to beat him out for that starting job. I don't know if there's anybody on the roster that you could even really point to at this point.
The guy, the reason why the only why I'd say I mentioned Maiden is because I think he has the physical. I think he's the only Niner safety that has the physical tools that can do kind of the kind of things that Tart and Jimmy Ward can do. Those other guys they're not as fast or as quick as Tart, Maiden, and Ward. So that's why I would say Maiden if anybody. I know a lot of people like Hufanga, and maybe he's like one of those guys that like he just doesn't have the physical tools, but you put him out there and then like he just makes plays. But if they had to play Hufanga, they'd have to structure the defense for him, because you wouldn't want to put him in the same positions as you would put Ward and Tart, and even guy. What's the guy from Florida they've had for a while? I mean, even he's done a solid job, but he just can't do some of the things that physically that Tart and Ward can do.
Right, and Maiden is the undrafted free agent that they got last year out of Alabama, correct?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
His mom says he runs a 4.2. So.
His mom says he runs a what?
His mom says he runs a 4.2.
Okay. All right. Well, as long as she says it, it's got to be right because the mom's always going to be right.
I tweeted something about him, and she ended up commenting on it. So
Oh wow.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't think he runs. Honestly, I don't think he runs a 4.2, but I wouldn't be surprised if he was like in the 4.4 range, 4.4 or something like that. I mean, listen, he went to Alabama. Nick Saban has his pick of the litter of whoever the hell he wants in the country. Nick Saban's not recruiting you if you're running a 4.6 at safety.
Sure. That's true. That's true.
So I think he probably is. That's why I would think if you watch his film, the athleticism shows. I think he probably runs fast for a safety. So that's why I say he's one of the guys that we talked about preseason and getting excited. Listen, as a high school coach, if it gets you the player, he's one of the guys I'm excited to see outside of the quarterback. Like I want to see what Maiden can do out there in the preseason. I think he'll get a lot of run because I wouldn't envision them throwing out Ward and Tart out there for a lot of reps.
Right, and I agree with you. I think you're on the money with everything that you're saying in terms of the secondary guys and for the safety position. And I haven't seen enough of Maiden. I know I heard his name being brought up a lot last year during the preseason and during the training camp. So he'll definitely be somebody to kind of keep an eye on. I think in this offseason and see where he goes to. If he can excel.
He was a corner out of high school. He was recruited as a corner. He played there initially. I think his first 2 years at Bama, and then they started used him in nickel a little bit, and then he finally settled at safety. So he's kind of, not to the extent like in the NFL, but he kind of has a similar path or similar. You can compare him to Ward, right? Where they're flirting with him over at corner, then nickel, and then safety. So. It'll be interesting.
Yeah, very similar, kind of path there and flexibility. So yeah, definitely. Yeah. Awesome. All right. I'm gonna go ahead and wrap it up. But thanks for calling in. I really appreciate it. It's good talking to you.
You got it, man. Catch you soon.
All right. Have a good weekend.
You too.
All right, guys. Well, I really appreciate everybody that came on. We had some great calls. That was a lot of fun talking to Coach Johnson there. It's been in a while since we've had a chance to chat. But again, just want to finish off by saying thank you to everybody once again for joining in. All of the calls, the comment section's been lively as always. Some really good stuff over there as well. So, definitely I'll be back on Tuesday night. I'm not going to be doing tomorrow. I'll be back on Tuesday night with Niner Chatter at its normal time at 6 o'clock on Tuesday night. And then next Thursday we will not be having a Hammer and Nail show on Thursday. So stay tuned to see what gets thrown in that slot on Thursday night. So thanks again for everybody. If you're not already subscribe, click the like button, hit the little notification so you know when we're going live. And everybody go out and have a great weekend. And remember, 2 weeks from today, the 49ers are on the practice field getting ready for 2021. Have a great day, everybody.